And so next up, as I drop my Apple Pencil, we're going to have a little presentation from the Startup Exchange, the branch, if you will, of the Industrial Liaison Program that engages with MIT-related startups. So I think I'll probably turn it over to Marcus as soon as we're up and running. But we'll hear some lightning presentations from representatives from a number of companies. And then afterwards, we'll break for some demonstrations and lunch. And we'll get back a little bit on time. So see how we're doing.
Sorry about that. Sorry. It's already done. Let me know when you're ready. Show it. Yeah.
Okay. Marcus, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So my name is Marcus Dolloff. I work at the MIT Startup Exchange, and I'm going to be presenting 9 startups that are working on sensing and nanotechnologies. Before I get to that, I'm going to take 90 seconds and talk about the work we do at the MIT Startup Exchange. Our core mission is to connect industry to MIT startups. Specifically, we connect the 230 members of the Industrial Liaison Program. These are Global 1,000 corporations. We connect them with the 1,200 startups in our database. These are MIT connected startups, by which I mean founded by an MIT alum, faculty, or based on MIT licensed technology. Last year, we facilitated 300 initial meetings, over 300 initial meetings between ILP members and MIT startups. These led to pilot agreements, customer agreements, licensed technology, and other commercial arrangements. And there are 3 key ways that we enable these introductions. We do topic-focused events, essentially conferences, where startups will pitch in front of an audience of senior level executives. And then we have an online opportunity platform where startups apply to opportunities posted by corporations with the goal of engaging in a pilot. And finally, we run a startup accelerator called STEX 25, where we accept 25 of the most promising startups from across all of MIT. And during a 12-month period, we provide additional promotional and matchmaking services. So that's, in a nutshell, what we do at STEX. And so now I'm going to jump to the first speaker. And so that first speaker is Marcie Black, CEO and co-founder of Advanced Silicon Group. Marcie holds a PhD from MIT in electrical engineering, has over 30 papers published, 15 issued patents, and Advanced Silicon Group is producing a silicon nanowire array to detect cancer biomarkers.
Hi, I'm Marcie Black, the CEO and co-founder of Advanced Silicon Group, and I'm here because I got all 3 of my degrees at MIT's Course 6-1 EECS. So Advanced Silicon Group is working to help solve the problem of lung cancer. When someone is diagnosed with lung cancer, if they happen to have a particular mutation of which there's targeted treatment for, their prognosis is actually pretty good. The problem comes when, during the treatment, the cancer mutates, and the mutation is non-responsive to the drug. Often the doctor doesn't know that a mutation has occurred until the patient's health starts to deteriorate. We're working to fix that. We're developing a blood test so that the doctor can monitor quantitatively biomarkers in the patient's blood during the treatment and dynamically alter the treatment plan as needed if there's a mutation. And the way that we do that is with silicon nanowire arrays. So silicon nanowire arrays are 150 nanometers in diameter and about 100 microns wide. So there's a very large surface area to volume ratio, making them very sensitive to the atmosphere around them. In addition, we can detect DNA as well as proteins, and we can detect multiple analytes on the same chip. So we've currently demonstrated detection of PSA, and we're working to detect biomarkers for lung cancer, and we're hoping to partner with people that can utilize the unique properties of our biosensor and other applications as well. Thank you.
right, so going to the next speaker. And one thing I forgot to mention is that every startup gets 2 minutes to present. There's no Q&A. The intention is that you're going to see them outside afterwards. They all have booths there. Next speaker is Kymissis, CTO and co-founder of Chromation. He actually holds 3 degrees from MIT, a bachelor's, master's, and PhD. And Chromation is working on miniature optical spectrometer chip. And get started. So let's see here. Presentation format. All right, let's just go with that.
Perfect. Great, thank you very much. So I'm John Kymissis from Chromation, and I have to say, I'm also happy to see my postdoc advisor here. I also did a postdoc at MIT. I know, no one ever leaves. So Chromation's goal is to make the world's smallest, easiest to use, and least expensive spectrometer. And we do this by taking advantage of photonic crystal scattering as the mechanism for separating the wavelengths of light. And this allows us to make a system which is smaller and, as a consequence, less expensive than other systems on the market, because the primary cost in most spectrometers is the volume of precision glass that's used. The way that we do this is we have an integrated optical element. You can see a blow-up of it on the middle, on the left rather. In which contains a series of apertures and mirrors. And that green strip, which you see, is the photonic crystal stripe, which is scattering the light out. That then gets sent to a linear detector. And that optical element does all of the light management, the NA control, and the stray light management. So this allows us a technology which today is the size that you see on the top, and we have some demos outside, and something that we can scale even smaller as we move to custom detectors in the future. And that allows us to enable mobile, integrated, and wearable applications. We have a number of engagements in a variety of application areas: water analysis, light analysis, colorimetry, biopharma, document authentication, et cetera. Unfortunately, most of these are under NDA, but we did get permission to speak about one application, which was the small company called WellShield, which makes a transparent photocatalytic coating. And they have a challenge, which is that when installers spray the material on, it's difficult to see if it's been applied properly or if it's active. And so we developed a handheld meter for them, which included a ultraviolet doser together with visible LEDs that allows us to measure the oxidation state of an indicator that's applied to the surface. And that led to a reduction in the application time and an increase in the customer confidence for installations. We have some demos outside. We're looking for additional customers and also for supply chain partners. And I look forward to speaking soon. Thanks.
All right, so next speaker is Schnorr, CEO and co-founder of C2Sense. He holds a PhD in chemistry from MIT, 13 papers, 6 patents, and they're using carbon nanotubes to make food and industrial gas sensing technology.
Thank you, Marcus. Yeah, so I'm CEO of C2Sense, started it together with Tim Swager, who presented on his technology earlier. Think back to the last time when you had a cold and couldn't smell anything. You couldn't smell if your food was fresh. You wouldn't have even been able to smell a gas leak in your house. And that's exactly the situation we have in the digital world today. It's really hard to have sensors that have the performance you need for the real world, but are at the same time simple, small, and affordable enough to be implemented. Or in other words, the Internet of Things has a cold. Tim and I, we started C2Sense to change exactly that. Here on the photo, you see one of our sensor chips. Each of those black dots can detect a different compound. All you have to do now is measure the electrical resistance of that black dot, run it through our algorithms, and you get the gas concentration you're interested in. The big part that sets C2Sense apart is the specificity we have. If your sensors are not specific, it's really hard, impossible in many cases, to get actionable information in the real world. What we have here is on the bottom what we call a selector that binds to the compound we are interested in, and that selector provides that specificity you want. So far, we've tested our sensors in 12 different countries, and we are launching our very first commercial product this August. Have 300 purchase orders so far. One of our first customers is a company in Apple storage. So there, They use our sensor to monitor ethylene gas, to measure apple ripeness, measure other gases related to apple storage, so that with our sensor, you can make sure the apples don't spoil before they reach you, and you get them in the quality you want. From there, we expand our sensing to a lot of additional compounds and hopefully can cure the cold of the Internet of Things. Thank you.
Okay, so our next speaker is Dr. Roger Nassar, CEO and founder of Brand Biotechnologies. He's a postdoc in chemistry at MIT, and they're producing a test for microbes using nanomaterials.
Thank you, Marcus. We're happy to present our novel rapid microdetection technology, which is basically a point-of-use technology to detect microbes in our environment. And the protocol is very simple and straightforward. All the user has to do is mix with a sample to test whether there are microbes in there or not. All they have to do is mix that sample with our materials, and then over time, colored materials are formed in that sample. We are at the few-hour mark. We're trying to shorten it down to less than an hour. So that's to detect live microbes. Now, the user has two options. Either if they simply want to know if there are live bacteria or microbes in general in the test sample or not, all they have to do is just look at the colored materials. So it's a naked eye test. However, they can take it one step further if they want and digitize their signal using a handheld, small handheld device that we've developed as well as at RAM Biotech, and get some digitization of the actual number of microbes in that sample. We are currently at the 110 cells per 100 mil, which is the golden standard for EPA, and we can go higher simply by increasing the volume that we start with. As you can envision, there are many different applications for this technology. We're focusing first on confirming the universality of this technology. So we've been testing many different microbes in the lab, bacteria and fungi particularly. We've been doing environmental tests on both salt and fresh water. We've been collaborating with the FDA. They've been our third party, detecting microbes on medical devices. We've also been looking at markets, focusing mostly on quiet control and sterility tests. And finally, we're looking for early adopters. I'm happy to answer further questions. We have e-poster outside. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Pavel Bystricky, CTO and co-founder of American Boronite Corporation. He holds a PhD from MIT, from the Department of Materials Science and Engineering, and they're using nanotubes to make extremely high-performing continuous yarn and tapes.
Thank you. Hi, welcome to Boronite. We have a team of 9 outstanding employees who are focused on developing this new class of very lightweight multifunctional materials that we believe will change the world. We started the company based on technology that we developed to make large-scale structures out of boron nitride nanotubes. Nanotubes are the strongest material known, but in order to create structures you need, for real-world applications, you need a process that will make them in large quantities. And in our process, we create trillions of nanotubes in a matter of seconds, and in a single step in the reactor, we spin them into continuous structures that are multi-kilometers long. Now, our boron nitride nanotube superfibers have the potential of being the strongest material ever made, and because of the unique physical and chemical nature of the nanotubes, they will be stronger than even carbon nanotube spun fibers. How strong? Well, a 1 millimeter diameter fiber will be able to suspend your 2,500 kilogram Tesla, and that fiber in kilometer quantities would only weigh a few tens of grams. Lightweight and high strength are not the only properties of these materials. They're excellent at neutron shielding. They're stable up to very high temperatures. They have very high thermal conductivity and electrical insulation, which is a rare combination of properties for materials. They're also piezoelectric, so they can be used for sensing and actuation in structures. So if you are US-based and you're interested in helping us develop multifunctional applications for these materials, please come talk to us. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Matt Carey, Director of Business Development of Humatics. Humatics is a company, this is actually STEX 25 company, one of the accelerator companies, and it's co-founded by Professor Mindell of the Department of Aeronautics and Astronautics. And they're working on micro-location technology to facilitate interactions between robots and humans.
Hi. So today we've seen a bunch of advancements in sensors and the data they produce. But at Humatics, we believe there's a fundamental gap in the way that spatial relationships are accomplished. And that is, you don't understand where your people, your places, and your things are at a millimeter level. And that's the problem we're here to solve, and we call it microlocation. As you can see from this factory, which really gives evidence to these problems, you see two things I want to call your attention to: safety and efficiency. You can look at the person outside of this cage and you see the robot arms inside. The people in the robot arms need to work together, but it's not possible. These robot arms are far too dangerous and far too fast and heavy. There's also a lack of efficiency because you can see the product here, but you don't really understand where that product is at a millimeter level as you move it throughout your factory. And that generates large amounts of inefficiency. This is why today I'm really excited to talk to you about the Humatics microlocation product. You take our transponder, you slap it up in the middle of this particular room, and you can put transponders on anything that you want to track, and you understand it with millimeter level precision. This solves those three problems that I was just talking about. You all of a sudden have an efficient understanding of the product moving through your factory, the people moving through your factory, as well as the robot arms. You also improve the safety of what's going on inside your factory. No longer do you have to rely on a bunch of gimmicky sensors that are around. You understand with millimeter level precision. And now your factory can respond differently if me, a stranger, walks through it compared to you, someone that belongs there. We're really excited about this technology in our product. It can apply to a wide variety of circumstances, whether it be precision drone flight to understanding at a millimeter level how physical therapy is helping a patient. If you want to understand in your environment how people, places, and things relate to each other at a millimeter level, then come speak to us after.
All right, so I'm not the AV guy, but playing that role today. So next speaker is Romain Lacombe, CEO and co-founder of Plume Labs. He has a master's in technology policy from MIT, and Plume Labs is producing a personal air quality sensor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. So my name is Romain Lacombe, and Plume Labs is working on solving what actually is the leading avoidable cause of death around the world today, our exposure to our environment. Of course, the reason it matters is the human cost, the medical impact, the financial cost of pollution. It's a $5 trillion problem. But what we're focusing on to try to address it is that giant gap between the magnitude of the issue and the lack of available options for individuals. It's very hard to know what you can do to basically avoid exposing yourself to chemicals at home or to pollution in your streets. And so what we're building, let me try to pass to the next slide, is a tool for change very much. It's Flow, a personal air quality device. That's a low cost, low power, consumer facing air quality tracker. So it's packed with sensors for the main pollutants that you can find in your life: urban pollution, NOx, particulate matter, chemicals, and VOCs you might be exposed to at home. It connects to your phone to gather this data so that we can help individuals track, understand, there's a huge behavioral and educational aspect, and then take steps to act on their exposure to decrease it over time. And the data that we collect from individuals helps us build models of street-by-street pollution levels. So we're, in a sense, building an environmental health crowd sensing distributed network for air quality. The reason this matters and why we know it works is because as we were building the sensor, which we're beta testing in London at the moment, we've already built a user base of hundreds of thousands of people around the world using a smog alerts mobile app we've developed that uses open data and machine learning models to forecast how smog is going to change in the next hours in your location. And this gives great results for behavior change. There's about 80% of people who feel better equipped against pollution. So we know that with better data, we're going to be able to help people take steps in the day-to-day life to breathe better. We're Plume Labs, and we're looking for partners both for research to apply this to public health and industry partners to help us scale this around the world. So thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is Vidan, CEO and co-founder, CEO of Composable Analytics, a spin-off from Lincoln Lab. They're making an analytics platform for making sense of the data generated from sensors.
Great. So with that, I'll jump right in. So our mission at Composable Analytics is to provide a platform for organizations to not just collect and curate massive amounts of data, but to also connect the dots between disparate data sources. And we do this by providing a single cohesive analytics ecosystem that acts as an enterprise-grade, robust, big data orchestration, automation, and analytics platform. The platform comes with built-in services and modules that makes data extraction, querying, dissemination, reporting, visualization, everything that we call data ops, much more simplified, much more easy to use for users. And from a user perspective, we're finding that visual compositions of complex workflows works great, and we provide a visual web designer that allows users to stitch together the big data tools and technologies that they need to do to fuse and exploit their data. So to focus on a single use case, we've been very fortunate to be working with John Hancock Life Insurance, where they see the future of life insurance underwriting to be really highly dependent on the ubiquitous sensing that is now available through nano and micro technologies, right? We all wear wearable devices. We all wear Fitbits and heart rate monitors and glucose monitors. And this can provide an immense amount of information about your health profile. And Composable Analytics as a platform is a perfect fit as this Internet of Things data platform. We can bring in data from various sources, whether they're sensors or credit cards or RF tags or mobile devices, bring that in and create, again, this 360-degree profile of a user. So with that, we're fortunate to be working in a number of different areas across the government and the private sector. We have already proven the Composable Analytics platform as a big data solution in these areas, and we're excited to talk to any of you during the poster session about future big data solutions. Thank you.
All right, so one more before we break. And just a quick reminder that all these startups are going to be outside, so please come and see them and ask them your questions. Final speaker is Zhang, CEO and co-founder of Novarials. It's a company co-founded with MIT PhD Qi Zhao. They're making nanowire-based sensor platform for detecting gases, among other applications.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. 6 years ago, I co-founded this company called Novarials. The reason I found this company is because after having been working on carbon nanotube for a while, I found a limitation of carbon nanotube. It's because it's only black. I want to make different colors. So now, actually, that's a joke. There is a reason for each material on the periodic table. So other nanowires should have its own use. So Novarials as a company has a technology focus on nanowires. We make every kind of nanowire: semiconductor nanowire, ceramic nanowire, metallic nanowire, and anything you can imagine from the periodic table. Here's we not only make this nanowire, but also trying to use this nanowire to make some sensors. Here's an example we did. So by making metallic electrodes, and then we deposit metallic nanowire, different semiconductor nanowire, like nickel oxide, tungsten oxide, vanadium oxide. That's an image. So by exposing different gases to the nanowire, each nanowire reacts quite differently. So that's the one way we use to solve this selectivity problem. We think nanowire can provide high sensitivity matrix, solve the problem of selectivity. And we're trying to find partners which is going to use nanowire to develop gas sensor for residential or medical use. And we are also very interested in using nanowire to make nanowire composites for artificial skins. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And just like I said before, they're going to be outside all the startups. If you have any questions about how to participate in STEX as a MIT startup or how to engage with MIT startups as a corporation, I'm going to be around and answering questions.
Marcus, thank you. So quick comment before we break for lunch. We're going to break for lunch, take an hour, and get back on time. Wanted to emphasize that one of the interesting, exciting things about MIT.nano in terms of engaging with startups, right now if you graduate MIT, we take away the keys to the candy store. You can't be here doing your commercialization and scale up. With MIT.nano, we're going to enable that. The startups that you're seeing today as MIT-connected startups are going to be able to use the facilities, use the equipment, and engage with us as they address the commercialization and scale up using the tools, using the equipment, using the education and practice factory. So keep that in your thinking cap. Please have lunch, and we're going to get back on schedule afterwards with Desh Deshpande giving the afternoon keynote. Thank you for your time. See you soon.